Dangal greetings everyone, I'm Mark Justin Alcantara. So let's kick things off with the very first file that spins our food ordering system to life, login.java. So I'm going to scroll from top to bottom, line by line, and explaining why every lines of code matters. So it starts with the first line. So it is just the package statement. So everything in this project lives under the food ordering system. So our classes can talk to each other without crazy long imports. Then from line 13 to line 13 to ano ba to? 15. So we put in all the swing imports. So layout managers, fonts, colors. So from line 17 to 21, so we grab the widgets, the JFrame, JButton, so you name it. So finally, from line 22 to 23, we bring in the array list. So that's where we put all the datas. Then from line 26, this is, remember that this file is a JFrame. So this class is literally a window. So from line 27 to 32, we can see we drop all the widgets on that window. Text boxes, labels, a roll picker. So, and as you can see in line 33, we expose customer ID as static. So the rest of the app can figure out who's logged in. So it's just a tiny bridge of encapsulation as what we've learned from our OOP classes. Then here, this is the main entry point of our program. So line 39 calls the dummy data. So we'll pick at that later when we seed our array list. So line 40 shuttles the UI build onto the Swings Event Dispatch Thread or EDT. It is crucial so the GUI doesn't freeze. So from line 43 to line 43 to 47, we create and personalize the frame. Then the line 47 centers it. So nice and tidy. Then we'll try to run the program. Yeah, that's the login page as we've run it. So as you can see, this constructor. So this constructor is where the magic starts. So the line 63, if you close this window in your upper right, the JVM, the Java Virtual Machine, quits. So it's handy. So these bounds, we hard-coded it. Then this line 65, this is the taskbar icon. So we make this to make the app more surreal. Then from line 67, here we created a JPanel called Content Pane and paint it with our brand color, which is a yellow, sunny yellow. As you can see here, the color for this window. So, alright, that's my part for now. And Josh Pamintuan will jump in next, starting to discuss the every label, text field, combo box, and most importantly, the login button that decides if you're an admin, customer, or kitchen staff. So, Josh, you're next.
Dongal greetings. So my name is Josh Russell or Pamintuan. So let's discuss the dropping in the left side banner. So first, we pop a decorative image in the far left. It's plain JLabel whose icon is pulled straight from our image folder on the desk spot. Those set bounce number lockup banner to the window edge, creating a tidily split lock screen. So the highlights is the dropping in the left side banner, and the next one is the username field. So this is the username field, the highlights. Next come the username box. We style it with a 16-point Tacoma font, give it 10 logical columns that just prefer with a hint, position it to the right of banner, and finally drop it into the pane. So the next one is the password field. So the highlight is the password field. So the password box is almost identical, but it is a J password field, so it is a mask character automatically. So the next one is the field caption. So this one is the full of the field caption. So this label sit just above each text field in bold white to punch through the yellow background. So the next is the login button, and it's red. So this is the full of the login button. So the button's action listener is the gatekeeper. The very first thing it does, it asks user data that get instance for the master user list. That call is our singleton pattern in action. User data guarantees one and only one repository of the users for the entire runtime. So we look through the list comparing user password and the selected role from the combo box. Everything must match before we set is exits the truth. So this one is the exit code, and so customer ID here. So here, if you log as a customer, we touch that a person ID is the statistic customer ID variable. Other screen will look at this to decide will those order to show. So here, from the exit hanggang to this. So the next one is no match. So we pop an error dialog and wipe the field match. We dispose the login frame and switch to the panel that fits your role, admin, customer, or kitchen. That simple role-based routing with 3 quick object creation. So the next one is the app logo top center. So this. So nice little touch. We reuse the same logo as the window icon but blow it up for a hero image at the top. So role selector here, this one here from this combo. So instead of hard coding role logic in the button, we'll let the present pick a role from the drop down. The background matches the brand red we use on the login button. So smooth hat. So here they are. Thank you.
Well, so Dangal greetings. My name is Angelo Ryan D. Villanueva. So now I'm going to discuss the customer panel. So under the customer panel, we have here we've implemented a JTab pane. So we have 2 separate tabs to cater these 2 features. So first is yung order tab natin, and then second is yung order history. So first, for our order tab, dito nangyayari yung pag-order ni user. So we have 2 tables here. First is yung menu table, kung saan dinidisplay lahat ng available menu sa McDonald's app natin. And then second naman is yung order cart table. So, para ma-display natin yung available menu sa sa McDonald's dito sa food menu table, nag-implement tayo ng menu table, and then gumawa tayo ng menu table model para makapag-add tayo ng rows dito sa ating table. Ngayon, para malagay natin yung data for each columns, we've implemented a for each loop na kung saan tina-traverse ng loop na to yung lahat ng object na nakalagay sa ating menu items or dun sa list ng menu item natin sa menu class. So, in traversing that, nag-add tayo ng row by having this line of code, menu table model.add row. And then, dun sa current object na tinatraverse natin, kinukuha natin yung ID, name, category, and then the price using the getter method sa ating menu item class. So, traversing and then adding the rows, kada traversal, would result us to display this following menu sa ating table. Now next, para ma-add natin yung menu sa kabila, we've made action listener sa ating menu table, which is yung mouse click. And natin. Okay, so para ma-add natin yung menu na gusto natin sa ating order cart table, gumamit tayo ng action listener sa ating J button na add order, which is ito yan. Wherein kukunin natin yung selected row, store natin siya sa variable name na selected row, and then this will determine kung aling row and menu name, category ng menu na yun, then yung price. Then, para makuha natin siya, and then ilipat sa ating order cart table. So, we have here an if-else statement para i-check kung meron na bang nakaselect na row. So, if hindi equals to -1, yung index nung nakaselect na row dun sa ating menu table model, mag-a-add tayo ng panibagong object na menu item dun sa ating ordered item na array list. So, yung ordered item na array list natin is magiging essential para sa pag-display na ating chosen menu item sa ating order cart. So, ito. So, we've gathered the selected menu informations using the getValueAt na method sa ating menu table. So, we've specified the selected row. Then, next naman, itong 0, 1, 2, 3, ito yung index number ng ating columns. 0, 1, 2, 3. So, dito, since object, nakastore siya as object dito, kinonvert natin yung iba dun sa kanilang corresponding na dapat na data. For example, sa ID is, pinarse natin siya into int. Then, next naman, yung menu name and then category, gumamit tayo ng toString method para ma-convert siya into string. And then, lastly, yung price, pinarse natin siya to double para makuha natin yung double na data type na data sa ating menu table model. Then after nun, tatawagin natin yung load cart list, which is a private method sa ating customer panel. Ito siya, load cart list. So yung load cart list, it will help us to display lahat nung na-add nating menu sa ating order cart. So, meron tayong for each loop dito, traversing each items or objects na nasa ordered item array list natin. And then, followed by the .add row na method, wherein ang nakalagay doon sa ating new object is yung information, yung ID, name, category, and price. Displaying the appropriate information sa ating cart table. So, to demo, for example, gusto ni user si Chicken McDo, kailangan nyo muna i-select yung Chicken McDo and then add order. Kung gusto ni user din na Hot Fudge Sundae, kailangan nyo select yung Hot Fudge Sundae and then click order. Now next, if si user naman is kung gusto nyo magbawas ng menu sa ating order cart, the user must first select yung ating desired na menu na gustong tanggalin. So to achieve that, naglagay tayo ng action listener sa ating remove button, and then same procedure sa ating action listener sa ating add button. Kinuha natin yung selected row using the get selected row, and then an if-else statement to check if may nakaselect na bang row. If not, maglalabas siya ng error message. So if may nakaselect na, for each loop tayo sa ordered item natin, which is yung array list na nag-hold that ng piniling menu ni user. And then, i-check kung yung ID na na-select nating menu is equals dun sa ating current na ID na tina-traverse. I-remove niya yung current object or yung current menu item object natin dun sa ordered item array list natin. So after nun, i-call out yung load cart list para ma-update yung table. And then next naman is update total cost, which is a private method para ma-update yung ating text field dito sa baba. So, yung update total cost, ito siya. Yan. Kung initialize tayo ng value ng total cost under the data type of double, and then magkakaroon tayo ng for each loop dito para makuha yung summation ng lahat ng price ng ating piniling menu sa ating order cart table. Then, i-update niya yung naka-display na price dito using the .set text into string format na may 2 decimal places. So, to demonstrate, so kunwari, add muna tayo. Kaya na-double yung pag-add ni user ng Coke float. So, to remove one Coke float, kailangan nyo muna i-select yung Coke float and then remove. So, para i-check na nagana yung ating if-else statement, if may nakaselect ng row, try natin mag-remove ng wala nakaselect na row. So, yan. Lalabas na. Select an order first. Ngayon, kapag satisfied din si user sa kanyang orders, pwede niya na i-click yung complete order. So, yung complete order, meron siyang action listener also. So, meron tayong if-else statement dito na if yung total cost is equal to 0, or in other words, walang nilagay si user na menu, or si user na menu sa ating order cart, maglalabas siya ng error message. So, eto yan. Add an order first. So, if not, maglalabas siya ng confirmation dialog. So, yan. Are you sure you want to complete the order? So, if nag-yes tayo, may lalabas na confirmation modal na nagsasabi na yung order is complete. Then, automatically, yung ating set of orders, or menu na ating order, pupunta sa order history. Nakalagay yung order ID, yung date, and then yung total amount. So, by doing that, gumamit tayo ng for each loop dito para makuha yung user list first. So, para ma-store natin yung order dun sa corresponding na ating customer. So, after nan, magkakaroon tayo dito ng if statement since yung order list is applicable lang sa ating mga customer. So, if yung instance na is customer, papasok siya dito sa ating if statement. So, yung log customer, dito siya. So, you have a public static na customer ID dito na kung saan ini-store na natin yung user ID kapag yung kapag yung role dun sa drop down or receive yung combo box natin is equal to customer. So, dito na natin siya i-compare. So, kapag pares na ng ID pares na ng ID yung current object na tinatraverse natin, gagawa tayo ng panibagong order object. And then, sa order, since ang order natin, order class, ang constructor natin is kailangan natin ng customer din ng array list. Ang mangyayari, kukunin natin yung current customer object or user object na may instance ng customer, and then yung ordered item ng array list ng kanyang current orders. Na after nun, kukunin natin yung customer object, yung current customer user object, then add natin yung order na panibagong object natin order dun sa order list ng ating customer. So, yung customer.java, ito yan. Yan, order. So, sa customer, meron tayong attribute na order history. Since si customer is may privilege para mag-order ng mga food or menu. So, after nun, pagka-add dun sa ating order queue manager na class, i-add natin or i-store natin yung panibagong order sa ating order queue manager using the add to kitchen. So, mamaya, i-explain kung paano nagagamit yung add to kitchen natin. So, basically, ito yung nag-notify sa ating kitchen staff na may panibagong order na kailangan i-prepare. So, next, maglalabas siya ng message dialog na yung order is complete. Then, now next, yung ordered item natin na array list is mag-clear. And then, yung load cart list para ma-update or ma-clear na yung ating cart table dito sa order tab. And then, yung load order history is para ma-update yung ating order history list. Then, yung text field natin sa ating total amount is magiging 0. So, for example, pag nag-add ulit tayo, dapat madadagdag siya dun sa ating order history. So, to check, since kanina, isa lang yung record natin sa order history, ngayon is 2. And then, makita natin dito, na kapag kinlik natin yung ating row ng isang specific na order, lalabas dito sa ating order summary yung lahat ng menu na kanyang in-order sa order na yun. Yan. So, to do that, meron tayong mouse listener or action listener na in-implement sa ating order history table or history table. So, ito yan. So, kunin muna yung selected row, same concept. Kukunin yung selected row. And after nun, if yung selected row is not equal to -1 or may nakaselect na row, papasok siya dito sa condition na to, which is a nested for each loop and then may if-else statement din. So first, tatraverse na muna dun sa user list kung aling user or sinong customer yung currently na ginagamit natin. So pag nahanap niya na yung user and then ang instance na is customer, papasok na siya dito sa for loop para ma-access naman yung order history ng customer na ating ginagamit. So after nun, magkakaroon tayo ng if-else statement. So, i-check niya naman kung aling order object yung sinelect natin. Since itong dalawang to is an order object. So, kada order object, meron tayong ID. So, ito yung magiging basis natin para ma-check kung aling order yung kailangan nating tanggalin. So, by that, nag-implement tayo ng if-else statement kung saan kukumpara natin yung order ID ng current order object dun sa sinelect nating order ID dun sa selected row. So, kinuha natin yon by using the getValueAt, then yung selected row, which is yung variable natin na mag-hold kung aling row yung nakaselect. Then now next is yung column. Yung column na kung saan gusto natin kunin yung value. So, since yung order ID natin is naka-store sa integer, pinarse natin siya as int. But first, convert muna natin siya to string para ma-parse natin siya to integer. So, after natin makuha yun, set muna natin row count ng summary table model natin to 0. Para every selection is i-clear muna yung table bago idagdag or ilagay, i-display yung current order summary ng order object nating sinilect. So after nun, itatraverse na natin yung order object na yun, yung list ng menu items sa order object na yun by using the order.getOrderItems. So after nun, yung summary table model natin, which is yung table model para sa ating summary table, is mag-add ng row, and then mag-create ng object, and then gagamitin yung isa-store yung necessary na information na kailangan natin dito, which is yung menu name, category, and price, by using the getter methods for the get name, get category, and then yung get price. So after nun, magdi-display na dito sa ating order summary table yung ating list of menu items. So pag na-detect na yun na mayroon ng match, magbe-break na yung loop, and then mag-move on na. So that yun na yung that is it for the customer panel. So the next part, we'll now explore the kitchen panel, and makikita natin paano na-associate yung ating add to kitchen na ating method dito sa ating kitchen panel. So ayun, to add na rin pala, meron tayong logout button dito, which is meron action listener na kapag kinlik natin yan is mapupunta siya sa ating login.java or login JFrame. So pag kinlik natin yan, and nandito na ulit tayo sa login. So thank you for listening.
Greetings everyone. My name is Prince Paulo Panganiban, and allow me to discuss our admin panel.java. First, we have our presentation. We look at the class inside the food_ordering system, namespace, so the rest of the app can reference it easily. The important section drags in every UI or GUI related class will touch Swing Widget, JFrame, JPanel, JButton, and many more. Layout helpers, event listener, action listener, mouse adapter, and containers. Default table model for table data. Notice java.util.arraylist appears twice. Harmless duplication, but TDing that is good hygiene. Food_ordering system.login is imported because the logout button needs to relaunch the login window. Next, we have here the public class admin panel extends JFrame. Admin panel extends JFrame. The whole admin dashboard is its own window. Every on-screen component gets a private field, so we can tweak it later. Example, refresh table data. For two running counters, menu ID, user ID, ensure that newly created menu items and user receive unique IDs without a database. Separate default table models drive each JTable that makes CRUD operations as simple as add row, set row, count 0, etc. Next, here we have the public admin panel. Window branding, we reuse the same icon as the login form. Set visible to true, shows the frame immediately. Safe because we're in the event dispatch thread. Fixed size, 1000 by 690. Keeps layout predictable. Set resizable to false, prevents sketching mishaps. Set location relative to null, centers the frame on whichever monitor is primary. Closing this window terminates the JVM, exit on close. That's fine for a standalone desktop app. Next, we have here the content panes. Replace the default content pane with our own. Repaint it McDonald's red and choose absolute positioning, no layout, and its pros that pixel perfect control, and its cons are no automatic resizing. Next, we have here this J table. Big white header text centered near the top. Set bounds. XYWH pins it 319 pixel from the left, 10 pixel from the top. JPanel menu tab until here. J tab pane holds three big sections. We initially attach menu management. Users and sales are added later. Each tab gets a plain J panel as it containers will fill them next. Next is have this line of code. A bold menu list header sits over the table. J-scroll pane wraps the table so huge menus stay scrollable. Table styling vanilla 12 point Tahoma on a pale beige background. Next is have public void. Next is when the admin clicks a row, the corresponding name, price, and category field on the right are autofilled, convenient for editing or deletion. Have here the menu set model. It's a table. We build an empty default table model with 4 columns, then immediately push every exiting menu item into it. Menu that get instance is a singleton. It guarantees one iterative menu list in memory. And we have this JTable label new. One this port. 3 widget let the admin type or edit name and price and pick a category from the combo box. The labels and text fields are positioned with more set bounds, calls not recoded here to keep the flow readable. Now we have the validation. Both name and price must be non-empty. A new menu item object is created. Note the factory pattern could live here, but in this code, the constructor is used directly. After adding, we dump menu ID for uniqueness and refresh the table with load menu items. Simple dialog informs successes or prompt for missing data. Next here we have the delete here and then update in this part. Both walks the selected table row, find the matching menu item in the singleton list, and either remove or muted it. Each flow ends with load menu items, so the UI stays in sync, plus a confirmation pop-up. Now let us go from on this table. Here in the sales tab. Constructs two tables. Sales tables list daily total, data and sales. Sold count table. And this part displays the item breakdown for whichever date the admin clicks. Data is sourced from another singleton. Sales report that get instances. Now let us move on to the Users Management tab. Mirrors the menu logic. Table user table plus model users table model. Entry field text username. Text password and role combo. CBO role. Add, update, and delete buttons employ the exact same code flow, but they operate on users' data that get instance instead of the menu. Here have and here we have the special twist. When the admin adds a customer row, we instantiate customer. Let's look for the CBO. This part. When the admin adds a customer role, we instantiate customer, a subclass of users, so that future order histories can link directly to that concrete type. Concretize polymorphic touch. And now let's look for the log out, this button. Discard the admin panel window, then spawns a fresh login form. No global state survives except the in-memory list, so logging back and start a new version. Next is this load user list. Each helper wipes its table model and repopulates it from the appropriate singleton repository. Keeping these loops in one place avoids duplicated code inside every CRUD button. That's all for our admin panel.java class, and I hope you have learned something.
Dangal greetings everyone. My name is Clarence Lord Aituisa, and below is a conversational section by section walkthrough of the kitchen panel.java. For each block, I quote the exact lines so you know where we are and immediately break down what those lines do, why they need it, and how they fit into the overall food ordering workflow. These are the import package of kitchen panel. We tag the class inside the food ordering system package so it can easily reach every domain class ordering queue manager. Swing import supply every GUI widget. Event queue appears but isn't used. Safe to remove. This is the class outline and field declaration. The first set bound is immediately overwritten below the remnant of GUI builder drag and drop down. Only the second call really matters. The banner label. A big white title dot center at the top of the window. A scrollable table that shows only one column order ID. The empty model is created first row and added right after. We look through the singleton queue manager's prep list and insert row for each order currently in progress. Section header. White subheading labeling the first call. Scoping and table. Identical structure to the left table but bound to the served order list. This is the scroll and table. This will display itemized contents of whichever order the cook clicks it in prep table. This is the logout button. This is the call block of logout button. And this is the call block of serve button. And this is the button to receive. This is the helper method. Clears both data models and repopulates them from the singleton live queues. Because load requires the list every time, the tables always reflect current state with an explicit observer mechanism, but you could swap them. That's the entire kitchen panel Java. dissected line by line. Need the same deep dive for another class or want ideas on tightening this? Thank you very much. That's all. Dito, kapag nag-add order ka ng kahit ano and kinumplete order mo, dediretso siya sa kitchen panel. Kitchen panel. Six. Ito na siya, order. Kapag kinlik mo naman unserved, dediretso siya sa order serving. Ito na siya. Then, pag kinlik mo na ang receive, automatic na siyang mawawala dahil na-receive na siya ng customer. That's all. Thank you.
Greetings. My name is Alvin Nagaid and i-discuss ko ang 5 classes ng aming project, which is the beverage.java, dessert.java, main dish.java, menu item factory, and site.java. So, uunahin ko ang pinaka-interface ng aming ng mismong pinagkuhanan ng mga menu item, which is the menu item factory. So, gumamit kami ng interface dito para ma-implement sa ibang classes yung kanyang mismong UI and makuha rin yung string category and yung kanyang price. So, unahin natin yung main dish. Nilagay namin is public class main dish extends menu item, implements menu item factory. In-inherit namin yung menu item, which is kasama yung ID and name, category, at yung price. So, in-implements din namin yung UI ng menu item factory. Tulad ng sinabi ko kanina, yung get category at yung get price. Para hindi na mabago yung, hindi na magkaroon ng complicated na situation about pag-implement ng UI. And katulad din sa main dish.java, ganun din yung ginawa namin sa dessert and beverage at yung side.java. Ginamit namin yung inheritance at implements para hindi na ganun maging komplikado yung mga pag-implements ng mga like ID and name at yung pangalan ng food and yung kanyang price. And that's all.
So, greetings. I'm Jembrian Laderas. And now we're gonna discuss the users.java. So, the class begins with the class definition. Everything between this brace belongs to users. Plain data folder for login, credential, and role. Now, the attributes like the private field ID, it will store a unique primary key value, keeping it private enforced encapsulation. Then a private
user string user. So this string that login screen will compare against user input. Then here private string password. So for demo, we store it as a plain text, but production you'd hash it, so it will not appear as a text. Now the last attribute is the role attribute. This string expected values in this system are admin, customer, or kitchen staff. Now the public users. So this part is the constructor header for parameter arrives from the admin add user form. So copies that incoming ID into the private field. This classifies we're assigning to the class field and local variable. Stores the provided username, stores the provided password, and stores the provided role. Then next is the public in get ID. So getter methods returning the user's unique ID required by the login logic and any tables that list users. A getter string get username used during authentication and when pre-filling edit dialogues. And private string get password. So getting for the raw password, fine for school project and unsafe for a real app. So public string get role. Getting for the role so the login screen can route users to the correct panel. Sorry. Then public void get the set username. So setters let the admin panel change user's name during on edit. Then public set password. So setters for password called after the admin edits a row or the user sets their password. Then last is the set role. So setter for role allows promoting or demoting a user, customer, or kitchen staff. Then the quick summary is these fields are provided in first encapsulation, getters expose and read access. Setters provides control write access except for ID, which is stay immutable because there's no set ID. And the class contains no business logic or UI code. It simplifies models user satisfying the single responsibility principle and serving as the backbone for CRUD operation in the admin panel and authentication checks in login.java. And that's all. Thank you.
So, dangal greetings. No? So, I will discuss the food ordering system. So, first is this quick walkthrough of the user data class is our Java-based food ordering system. Today we'll explore how user data is managed efficiently using the singleton pattern. So, what is user data? So, user data is a singleton a class responsible for storing and managing the list of users in the system. These include admin, kitchen staff, and customer. So it followed the singleton pattern, meaning only one instance of this class can exist during routine. This is done to maintain a central list of users. So constructor logic. So the constructor is private to prevent outside installation. Inside we populate some dummy user data including admins, kitchen staff, and customer.
So, dangal greetings. And next class we gonna discuss is the customer.java. So, it also grouped with the package name food ordering system. Like the other class project under the same namespace. So, imports the collection types we'll use for customers order history. And next is starts the definition and declares inheritance customers is a users. So it automatically owns ID, username, password, and role with all their getters and setters. Next is the private array list order and order history. So adds one new field, dynamic list that will store every order to the customer has placed. Next is public customer, a contractor header. It accepts only ID, username, and password. That role is hand-coded in the next line. Next is the public void hard order. So this method is to helper method that check out process calls to append a new order object to the history. And next is the public list order get history. Get order history, and return the order history. So getter returns the last list. So the customer order history report or the profile page can display past purchase. It's a type as list. The interface, so calling code can assume it's always as array list. Then the quick summary, though, so the inheritance handles shared login data, no duplicate fields, and a private array list order stores past orders satisfying the customer order history requirement. An add method and get history provide controlled access. Encapsulation remains intact. Then the contractor hand coded the role to customer, ensuring role consistency without extra validation. So this clean extension showcase OOP fundamental inheritance and encapsulation while adding just the functionality customer needs. And that's all.
Good day everyone. Today we will discussing the two important classes in our system, the menu class and the order class. These classes play a crucial role in managing food orders and menu items in our application. So the first one, let's talk about the menu class. Let's begin with this menu class. First line drops inside a food ordering system package, so every other file finds the class quickly. Then we import array classes, the interface parent list in our memory database for menu items. And next line is public menu class, private static menu instances. Menu is a classic singleton. The instance variable will hold the one and only object we expose to the rest of the app. Next, private list item menu. This one, we declare at least A aggregates a bunch of menu items. Objects aggregation makes sense because a dish can exist even it is the menu banished during the test. Next line, this line of codes. Because the constructor is private, outside code can say new menu. Inside, we create the list of preload 5 menu items, one from each subclass. Notice the polyformism, the list of happily stores. Main dish, side, dessert, beverage. Next line. Get instances lazily builds a object the first time. It's asks for the reuse it forever. That guarantees every panel admin customer kitchen sees the same menu list in the memory. Next line of codes, and the last one in this class. Expose a getter so ULS can list dishes, and we supply add menu item so the admin screen can push new product. Notice we never expose the array list reference itself, just the list interface good encapsulation. So next, let's talk about the order class. So let's search with this line of codes. Same package, we import local date time for the timestamp and array list to hold the customer selection. So next, this line of codes. Order counter. Order counter is a static auto-increment starting at 1000. Customer is an association. The order knows who placed it but can survive the customer objects in deleted. Receipt. Show the composition. A receipt can exist without its order. Next, let's talk about the constructor. This line of codes. Every new order grabs a new ID, copies the incoming card so no one can mutate it externally, stamp the current time, compose a receipt, and marks itself not finished. So next, item level code. This one, extra safety in case you need to add another dish after the order is born. Next, this line of code. Returns method, so reports at the kitchen panel can pick inside. This next code, this one. The business logic total amount, sum each item price, simple loop, so no stream for being clarified. Next line of code is receipt and status plug. Get receipt lets the UI print or preview the bill. Next, set it done flips the flag when the customer pick up the tray. Kitchen call this a receive for the breast. So that's all for menu class and order class. Uh, the other classes will be reported with my other group mates. So thank you.
Tangal greetings, I am Chamil Belante. Today I'm going to walk you through the Order Queue Manager class in our restaurant management system. This class manages the flow of customer order from the kitchen to the serving area, and, finally to the sales report. It's designed using its singleton pattern, which means only one instance of this manager exists throughout the application. This ensures that all parts of the system are using the same order queue. At the top, we have two static array lists, prep order and serve order. This list holds orders that are currently being prepared in the kitchen and those that are ready to be served to customers. The method add to kitchen adds a new order into the preparation queue. You'd call this when an order is first placed. Next, order ready to serve is used when the kitchen finishes preparing the order. It moves the order from the prep list to the serving list. After the order is served to the customer, we call order finish. This method removes the order from the serving list. Mark it as done and add it to the sales report using sales report.get instance. We also have get prep order and get serve order methods, which are useful if you want to display the list in a UI, like a kitchen dashboard or waiter's tablet. So, to summarize, this class handles the full journey of an order from being placed to being cooked, served, and finally logged into sales. And that's how the order queue manager helps keep the restaurant workflow and organized. Thank you.
Let's proceed to receipt. So hello everyone. So in this short video, I'll walk you through the receipt class from our Java-based food ordering system project. So as you can see, this code like public class receipt, private receipt number. So this is a name receipt, and it's currently served as a basic function to store a unique receipt number for each transaction. So belongs to food ordering system. So it is a part of the food ordering system, the package that class represent a customer receipt, which is essentially in any ordering or billing system right now. So it is only a store the receipt number, but it's a build to be expandable. So that's all. Thank you.
Hello, so today I will be discussing about the sales and sales report.java. So first of all, we have the sales.java. In this sales.java, we have imported the array list to utilize the menu item. So we have two private fields named string date, the name or the identifier of this sales, the total sales, an integer to track the total number of sales made in this sales. So basically, this sales represents a day, basically a report of the day. So we have public sales, and we have inside the constructor we have a parameter that calls a strings that date. Then it will set that date to the private string date here. So next, we have the items of the menu. So here, the menu items is this one, the most ordered items, the menu, the category, and the number of sold. So we have here an array that represents the title of the dish, the food, then the order count. So first we have the add sale method that accepts an order object. In this method, we have a array list that gets the list of the items that the order has. So for example, if the order has chicken McDo or fries, it will go into this menu items array list. Next, we have the for each loop, in which we iterate for every menu items is equal to an item. Technically, for every items in the menu, we have an item object, and then after that, we have another for loop that will check that item. So inside this for loop, we will iterate through the menu order here. Since the menu order and the order count has the same length, if I want to change the total order count of let's say chicken McDo, since chicken McDo is the very first or the index 0, I will also change the index 0 of the order count integer array. So let's go back to the for loop. So the for loop iterates through the chicken McDo to iced coffee in the array. Then inside the for loop, there is an if-else statement that checks if the item inside the for each loop or inside the menu items na array list, it will check if that name contains inside the the menu order. So for example, if the menu item has chicken McDo, as I said earlier, then it will iterate to the for loop, check if the current row and the column 0, which is the name, corresponds to the item that get named. If it does, then order count, then it will increment. Then after we increment the items, it will exit the loop, then add total sales to the total amount. And then next we have getters and setters that is required to do some tasks from the other files. You have string get date that returns the date, a total sales that return the total sales, and the get menu order that will return the menu order and the order count. So after I explain the sales.java, I will now explain the sales report.java. So inside here we have an array list again, since the array list is where we store each sales object. Then we have imported also the local date to use so we can track the current time or the current date. So we have these private fields again for encapsulation. So for the first time that the program runs, we have the current time equals local date that now. This will get the current date. So for example, the current date is May 15, 2025. So the current time will store the 2025 as a year, 5 as May or the month, then 15 as the day. Next time, as I said earlier, we have array list with sales equals new array list. So we have instantiated a new array list to store or that accepts sales object. Then if the first program or
or else. For the first time that the program will run, we will create a new sale object that will pass through the current time. So, for example, in the future, if the program runs, let's say, June 2, then it will create a new sales object and pass June 2. Next, we have the private static sales reports instance. Basically, this is a singleton pattern that will enable this class to be to run without being instantiated. So this means that we don't need to have a sales report equals new sales report. So to achieve that, we have the public static sales report get instance. So inside here, we will check if the instance, this one, if the instance is equals to null, then it will create a new sales report. Otherwise, it will just do something. Basically, there is already or this file has already run. So, public sales report. So if the first run, or rather in the first run, the instance is null, so it will create a new sales report, or it will call the constructor, which we add a dummy data. So we have sales that add new sales that dated back to April 1 to May 14. Then inside that, we have a sample order in which we have a menu item of chicken McDo pass through the order. So this is the sales report. So May 14. So inside that May 14, if we click that, for example, if we click the other April 1, the most ordered items table is 0 since the sales is 0. However, in the dummy data, we have passed an order to the May 14 sales report. So in the May 14 sales report, in the dummy data, we have chicken McDo as main dish, which has a total of 105. If we run the program again, there is if we click or select that row, the number of sold of the chicken McDo is equals to 1. So next, public void add to sales. So basically, this method will get called by the kitchen panel. So what does this do is, first, it will create a temporary current sale object in which we get the last element or last sale object in the sales array list. So we use that. Then after that, there is an checking. So inside this, we have check sale, which is this method. So check sale will just check if the two string sales or two strings is equals. So basically, in the first argument, we are passing the current sale that date. So remember, in the sales.java, you have this string date. So this sales date is the identifier for that. And then next one is we have the order that get order date time. So inside the order, order object, we are checking if the order date of that is equals to the current sale. So basically, it will check if today, May 15, is the current sale report. Then, if an item is ordered in May 15, it will check if it will match. So, for example, if it doesn't match, we'll create a new sales object, and the current time will be the current date now. Then after we add the sales object, we will recursionally call this method again, passing the new order. So what happens if the checking is true? So if the checking is true, there is another checking method, which is order that get order done, in which we will make sure that the order pass has already been made and received by the customer. If that is the case, we will call the add sale order present in the sales.java. So that's it for the sales report and sales.java. Thank you.